This is a quick knit with me little reminder video and lesson learned kind of a thing. So when knitting a 48 stitch sock, 48 stitch count, don't try and figure out what the heel turn count is supposed to be. Just remember to go to dots-dabbles-and-design.com and use the heel turn calculator. This thing is amazing, completely free. Just Google the website. You can put in your stitch count and just hit the number that you need. It'll automatically do it. So you can see it's set to 0. And let's say I'm doing 64 stitch I had in there. It auto types 32. If I'm doing 48, my heel flap is worked over 24 stitches, and it even gives you the instructions along with abbreviations. So this is amazing. I didn't have to think about anything. Lesson learned. A huge time saver. Finally found this. Took forever. Instead of doing a whole bunch of trial and error on my own trying to figure out the stitch count, this website gives it to me automatically for free. It's perfect. Let's say I'm doing a 76 stitch count sock and I need to know what the heel turn is going to be. That's the number of stitches I need for my heel turn. There are the instructions right there. Absolutely amazing. Dots, Dabbles, and Designs. Love it. So other than finding this little treasure, nothing much else happening other than surviving work, knitting socks, spinning yarn, not very often, not enough, craving that for sure, and playing the new Hogwarts Legacy game, which is freaking amazing. I'm actually keeping myself from playing it right now because I really just want to go to Charms class. I have stuff to do and I can't stop exploring. It just looks amazing. Cannot rave enough about that. And I've learned how far I've come when it comes to reading my stitches. And I thought about it. I've been knitting for a few years now, which is really weird, but I've learned that I can actually go around and do the decreases on the gusset, the heel flap and gusset on a sock. I don't need to have stitch markers on the left and right sides any longer. I can just read my stitches and see. I have lights on my neck. That's what the extra lighting is. I can see that right here, this crisscross, that is my slip knit decrease, and I can tell that this is a normal knit right at the top. Would not have been able to do that years ago at all. So I've come quite a ways that I can just knit and read my stitches. I don't know why I found that to be amazing. But I've been watching a new podcast called Wool in the Forest. absolutely love it. The podcaster, I hope I'm pronouncing her name correctly, Daki. For some reason, my ear wants to hear Ducky, but that's not right, probably. It's Daki, if I recall correctly. Or it's either Daki or I think it's Daki. So I do apologize if I'm mispronouncing that. But a lovely podcast. So nice and quiet watching her go over her textile art, living in what seems to be a magical forest on the west coast of the United States. It's just very, very nice. And actually, I need to go back and fix what I did because I realized I need to decrease. Actually, did I decrease? I did. See, I can read my stitches. So even if I forget, I can just turn back and see what I did. Wasn't able to do that years ago. For sure. Probably wasn't doing it too much last year even. But after watching one of the Wool in the Forest episodes, she was talking about focus, like I just did not do. I did not focus. Focus on your knitting. Like really consciously watch your knitting. And for some reason, I seem to focus on the fact that I am able to, that was a knit together over there, slip, knit over here. I said that wrong. I knit together on what would be right side, slip, knit on the left. Feels twisted. There we go. I actually paid attention to slowing myself down and not just knitting and not paying attention. I actually sat and quietly watched what my hands were doing, and I realized I'm actually reading my stitches. I'm not using reminders, stitch markers and whatnot, which I have a ton of. But, and I do love them and I do use the heck out of them, but I don't need them for sock knitting. Not for reading my stitches, and I was using them specifically for that. So I would remember what side was slip, knit, what side was knit two together. So I can say I've come a long way from my beginning days of knitting. And when I knit, I have noticed, because this was something else in her last episode, Wool and the Forest, knitting with metal needles, I love the click. That's one thing. But I like how I can get the yarn, any yarn, to just glide over the needles with no friction whatsoever. Now, when I started knitting, I was using wooden needles, bamboo, clover, you know what you get at Michael's or AC Moore, because I wanted the yarn to stick to something, because I tried using metal needles at first. That's what I just happened to purchase. No rhyme or reason to it. I just grabbed a pair, tried it out. Didn't work. Yarn was slipping everywhere. But I was a beginner, so I was still trying to figure out my hands, figure out how to hold the yarn, figure out how to literally hold the yarn in left hand and right hand, which one was better for me, all that jazz. And wonderful friend and teacher who has a YouTube channel, Bronislava, recommended in one of her podcasts that beginner knitters should use wooden needles. And I was like, okay, let me try that. Got a pair of bamboo clover needles, and the yarn gripped, and it's what I needed. It's what I wanted, so I could control what was happening. And as a beginner, your tension's tight, you're holding the yarn like a death grip and everything. I didn't have to do that so much with the wooden needles because the yarn was grabbing onto the needles. But once I got through that stage, I tried the metal needles again, fell in love with the clicking, fell in love with the fact that I can just sit here and slide the yarn in and out just like this, and I don't have to worry about pulling and tugging on the yarn because it's gripping wooden needles. But when watching Wool in the Forest, and again I'm butchering her name and I do apologize, Daki mentioned wooden needles. She was talking about knitting needles, and it dawned on me listening to her. When I did knit with wooden needles, of course I was knitting slower. It's because I was a beginner. But I was really focused on what I was doing. Again, it's probably because I was a beginner, trying to figure things out. But there was something about wooden needles, and it's hard to describe. I don't know, kind of like a comfort. Not to say that this right here with metal needles isn't comfortable, it is. But kind of a coziness using wooden needles. I remember having that. So I think I'm going to try wooden needles again on my next pair of socks, just to see, after all these years, if I prefer to stick with my metal needles or if I'm willing to use wood needles again. Because honestly, I got rid of my wood needles. I was like, nope, I'm good. Sticking to the metal. I can just knit, and it's giving me what I want. But I think I'm gonna try out the metal needles on my next pair of socks and really focus on my hands moving and just kind of being in the moment of knitting, because a lot of times I'll sit and watch Netflix or Amazon or something while I knit, and I'm not, I don't know, I guess always engaged with my knitting, if that makes sense. So I do apologize in advance, but this is kind of a brain dump and knit with me, and a little show and tell. So yeah, trying to be more conscious when I'm knitting, being in the moment. in the knitting. See, at least I'm able to recognize by reading my stitches if I get lost in a show or something and I forget where I am. If I'm coming around, I can just look at the stitch and say, oh, there's a decrease. No, there's no decrease, and I can do what I got to do on the next round. So it's kind of cool to actually realize how far I've come in my knitting skills, I guess. In case I forget this yarn, this one came from a Christmas advent from Vida Lifestyle. I don't know if this is 22 advent or 23 advent. Can't remember. But it's a forest. It was probably named like Christmas tree or forest something. But it's a fingering weight yarn held double. It's this right here. So I just doubled it, but it's really fingering weight. So it actually worked out really nicely. And then coming further down, this one is 100 Acre Wood. I always want to call it Winnie the Pooh. But it's 100 Acre Wood. It's again fingering weight also. And this one came from Sweet Tea Yarns. And for the heel turn, and I'll do it for the toe because this was from the Advent from Vida Lifestyle, but it was a mini, so I didn't want to play yarn chicken and try to do heel, toe, and cuff with this. So I'm just going to do the cuffs in the Christmas Advent, the 100 Acre Wood in the foot and ankle, but the heel and toe, let's get my light off of it. Yeah, it's not really showing it well. There it is. That's what that is. This one is fudge. I can't remember. It's a fingering weight. I can't remember this one either. Well, fudge monkey. I know I've had it for a while, but I can't remember who dyed it up. Fudge. I do like it though, especially when it's held double. These are for a very special little person who I made socks for 2 months ago, I think it was. And yeah, those socks already have holes in them. And when I say holes, like I had to try and mend, and I'm no mender by any means at all. But yeah, like you can see the pulling in that wool, it was bad. But at least I know, yeah. When you get a hole like this in your heel and your toes start falling apart, and I did mend one of these toes. Can't remember which one. I was actually able to mend the toe. Um, but yeah, at least I know the kid wears his socks. He likes it when I knit him socks. But yeah, that's what these are for. To replace those. And I deliberately doubled the fingering weight in hopes of keeping the holes at bay for as long as possible. Because, yeah, I don't want to be knitting socks and then they don't last for the person I'm knitting them for. That's no fun. Do need to figure out my next pair of socks though. Someone asked me to make them a new pair and I'm like, ooh, really? I thought you did not wear the socks I made years ago, and lo and behold, they have been wearing them to the point where they have a hole in the bottom of their sock. But at least they took care of them or didn't wear them out terribly, because it's been a few years. But hey, as long as you wear them, I don't care how many holes you get, I'll make you another pair. I don't like knitting for folks and they're not knit worthy, as you say, I guess. Because this takes time to do, even though it's relaxing for me and it's fun, but I don't want to knit a hat or scarf or gloves or shawl or blanket, whatever, and then the person never use it. So, because not only is this time consuming, costs money. Costs a lot of money. Making sure I did my decrease. Yes. Costs a lot of money to knit. It's not a cheap hobby. I mean, it could be. But when you buy a ton of yarn and the needles and the stitch markers and the neck lights and the hand balm to keep your hands from drying out from the wool, and the spare needles and the scissors, and good lord, you end up spending money. So yeah, the person better be knit worthy. Fudge. There we go. And I do need to do a sweater after I do socks. Oh wait, no, I can't do that. I gotta make a blanket first. Fudge. I've been saying I'd make this one blanket for someone for the past 2 years, and I haven't done it because, yeah. But it's on my things to knit in my head list. And I am determined to get this bugger knitted this year. And actually it should go kind of quick. I'm gonna use basically as much yarn as I can, and it's gonna be fingering weight. So it's kind of like a stash buster, because I'm gonna hold it all double, triple, quadruple held together with pretty fat needles, probably like a size, I don't know, 6 needle. So that'll make it go kind of fast. But I am itching to knit up a pair of socks that I saw on Stitched by Mrs. D podcast. She always talks about the bakery bears, and I've seen their podcasts, but this one pair of socks that she showed called Flurry, yeah, that's the name of it, Flurry, so cute. Actually, I think I have it in my knit companion. Yeah, I know I have it in my knit companion. Actually, here it is. Yep. Let's see. Zoom out and turn there. Yeah. Those are the socks. Flurry by K. Jones of the Bakery Bears. Those are cute. So I definitely want to try those. Flurry lace socks. So yeah. And normally I don't do pink, but Paula, Stitched by Mrs. D, she did hers in pink and completely gorgeous. So I'm going to try mine in pink as well. So yeah, sock knitting, blanket, and then I bought, unfortunately, 500 gram cones. They were on sale at woolyknit.com. 500 gram cones of yarn. And these things, I'm basically in my little hobbit cave. Everything surrounds me that's yarn. Like, these things are freaking huge. Like, I had no idea what I was actually purchasing. But yeah, but it's definitely fingering weight. So I'll end up doing held double. Yeah, that's the color. So yeah, I'll use this and make a nice sweater. Haven't knitted a sweater in a while. Feels like a year or two. So yeah, I'll use these bad boys. Probably just a sweater. Oh yeah, I do need to just do my Harry Potter owl post sweater. So I'll do that. And I do need to create a Harry Potter scarf from Hogwarts Legacy, because I'm a nerd and my character found a really cute knitted sweater that is striped, like huge chunks of stripes going up the length of the entire scarf with, I think, 5 or 7 fringe pieces on each end. Super cute. And yes, I got up in the screen to make sure that what I saw was knitted stitches, and yeah, it was. So I'm like, I can recreate my video game scarf, because I'm a nerd and I don't care. Life's too short to not have fun. And my fun is knitting and playing video games. Sometimes board games, sometimes card games, but yeah, I'm a nerd. And I don't care. It is what it is. I think I'm unfortunately about to fall into a moment of I can't stop myself. I have to play Hogwarts. It's just one of them moments. Even though I kind of don't want to stop knitting until I at least finish this gusset. So then I can put this thing back on magic loop with the other one and just finish the socks up. Why is this one stitched like this? Knotty dropped a stitch. So what is this thing? Why is this all loose? All right. This I don't like. Meaning, don't like chasing stitches when they're loose and trying to tighten them up, because trying to find where they go is annoying. Kind of like a puzzle, and I can never figure it out. Supposedly, if you keep doing this long enough, there we go, it will tighten up the stitches. So, let's see if this works. Or will I need to keep doing this until I go all the way up here somewhere, which I'm not going to do. It's going to annoy me. There we go. Uh-huh. Oh. No, I don't like that because it's still making a hole. Dang it. I wonder if I were to drop this entire column and tighten it, if that would make a difference. I don't feel like testing that theory. But I wonder if that would do it. It probably would work. Where are you going? You go there, you go here. You go here. I mean, at some point this thing has to tighten up. At least I hope it does. Maybe if I keep doing this. Nope. There we go. That's better. And it'll probably block out, which I don't block socks because, yeah, they go on the feet, and then this is superwash yarn. It will go right in the wash, and then it'll block itself automatically. There we go. Now we're cooking with Crisco. And I'm on a decrease round. So there was a lesson learned. How to pull loose stitches and tighten them up. Would not have been able to do that years ago. That's for sure. Yeah, I'm itching to go to charms class. So I'm gonna probably do one more row. It's like a balance. Knit or go to Hogwarts. Because I got homework to do. I have charms class to go to. And I do believe I have plants growing in herbology. So I got stuff to do. But I want to knit. Let's see, what time is it? Oh, it's only 9:51. I got plenty of time. Just cannot be playing Hogwarts until 1 in the morning. I have to deal with work, which is a privilege. I have privilege. I'm able to work. So, should not complain. Should not. I do, but I should not. But it is a privilege to be able to work every day and live comfortably. Heck, it's a privilege to be able to have a full-time job and run my own company. That's a privilege. So I should not complain. But I do most days. I don't know anyone who doesn't. And if they don't, God, I need to know what that secret is. But that's why I knit, to decompress. And that's why I play Hogwarts, to decompress, and because it's a wonderful little world. I said I was going to go around one more time. Good grief. Maybe that's just a knitter thing. I don't know. It can't be. It can't be every knitter. And you're like, I'm just going to go around one more time. Let me just get to this stitch marker and then I'll be done. And then an hour later, you're like, oh, wait. Let me get around here one more time. Let me get to this stitch marker. I'm going to go ahead and stop. So when I can't do the flurry socks in a recording because it's a paid for pattern. But there is another pair of socks that I have that is not a paid for pattern that I want to knit. I cannot remember what it's called. It's in my knit companion. I will have to search for it, but I know there was one that I wanted to do sooner rather than later because I've got plenty of patterns. And was I supposed to do a decrease? Yes, I was, and I didn't. I will do a recording of that. Just knit some socks with me, kind of a thing. Quiet knitting. Yeah, decrease. And I might, which is actually a good idea, I will probably, when I get my colors that match the scarf, which I'm pretty sure I have all the colors, but hopefully, actually, you know what, I might not. Fudge. Because they're all solids. It would be good for me to record doing that as a reminder on the pattern, because I'm just going to make it up as I go along. I think it's all knit stitches. I don't think I saw any purl stitches on that scarf. It's probably just all straight knit stitches. And then when I knit my blanket, I can do a reminder video on that, and that's going to be plain knit stitches. I don't think I'm going to add anything, but I do want to make a pair of socks using my Japanese stitch book and just create something using that, because I've never knitted from it and I really need to. It was gifted to me, so I don't want to waste my gift. Why am I still knitting? I want to go play Hogwarts. Okay, I am going to go to Charms class, and I will eventually, hopefully sooner rather than later, make another little knit with me quiet video and do some socks, because I have not recorded myself knitting in I don't know how long, and I've been craving it because I definitely did not want to forget that heel turn reminder website. I wanted to remind myself in the future. Actually, so I can remind myself using, notebooks for like knitting, journaling, whatever you want to call it, is not a bad idea. I actually got one of these for spinning, so I can write down anything that pops in my head. Such as, which cast-ons I use the most, the needles I like the most, this heel turn, so I always remember 48 stitch count in case I do that. Knitting podcasts, I've started writing down all the ones, including my own little podcast. Yeah, right, but I wrote it down. Wool in the Forest, I love knitting traditions. Crafting with Compassions, that is amazing. Sarah is an amazing person. Absolutely adore her. Lindsay, who runs Simply Serving, she makes all the stitch markers that I have. Love her. She's amazing. Absolutely amazing. These women are wonderful folks to speak with and correspond with. Love them to death. Marquita makes. Love her. She's amazing. Love talking to her, and I need to talk to her again. Work has just, it's way too much. So it's gotten in my way of chatting with folks that I used to chat with. So yeah, I actually like having a little knitting journal. So yeah, and did one for spinning too. These notebooks are really nice from Amazon, cheap little buggers. I think this was only, I don't know, 10 or 20 bucks. Real nice. And stickers are a cute little way just to make it more fun. And using a fountain pen definitely helps. I am a fan of fountain pens. Always have been. So I got myself some fountain pens for my notebooks. Plus, especially with my spinning journal, which is a reminder to myself, make sure that you cut off a sample of what you're spinning and put it in the notebook. That way you can always have a physical reminder of where you are, what you've done, so you can have it for future reference, future comparison. Making sure I did the right stitch. Yes, I think I did. Yeah, because that's crisscrossing. And that's crisscrossing. Yeah. Cool beans. Okay. Peace out.